We are now going to look at how we can add a configuration option to this application. And first things first, we are going to add a new argument, and that argument is going to be related to passing in a configuration file. And so we're going to say it's going to be an optional argument because we don't always need a config. We have some default functionality as well. And so this is going to be called --config, and the usage information for it will be as follows. And so now what will happen is when we run our application the way we have been, and we don't pass this, we just say, there we go. It runs as expected, and then if we say h, now we see we have this additional optional argument --config. And what this says is that if you are using the config flag, you have to pass a config file name in there. And so that's exactly what we want. And if we run it and we pass blank, it will complain, which is what we want. And then if we pass something, it's not going to do anything because we have not written that code yet. So now the way that we get it out of here is we look at args.config. So right here, if we do a print of that, you'll see that when we don't pass anything, there's nothing, none, you see up there. And then if we pass something, you'll see it shows up there. So that's good enough to get started. And we can now change this to be an if. If something is part of args config, then what we want to do is say print using config file, and then we provide the name of it, and then we actually open it so we can use it. And we just open it for reading. And as you remember, that means that we use this R here. So now this doesn't really get us far either, because now we are talking about doing some configuration, and we're saying that there's a file that is being supplied to us and we're opening the file. But for stuff like configuration, it helps to have a consistent format for our configuration settings. And there is a file format that's used very frequently for that kind of designation, especially in Python, and it's called YAML, yet another markup language. And so we are going to look at how to take in a YAML file, open it, load the YAML, and turn it into a Python object that we can then use. And we'll do that in the next lecture.